This right here is the midwit meme. Basically, the dumb and the super smart make the most money because they realize that things are actually really simple. Everyone else in the middle just tries to overcomplicate things. The good news is, if you want to succeed at B2B marketing, there's actually only one principle and one strategy you need to follow to see success. And in this video, I'm going to explain these as clearly as possible. And then I'm going to give you 4 actionable strategies based on these that you can use today. So B2B marketing is the practice of marketing your product or services to another company instead of direct to individual consumers. But here's what trips most people up. B2B looks simple, but if you try to run it like B2C marketing, you will burn money very fast. So B2B or business to business is different from B2C or business to consumer because in B2B, the deal sizes tend to be bigger and there are usually more decision makers involved. Also, the sales cycle tends to be longer. Using a B2B product or service often has a bigger impact on the company you're selling to. It can take more time to roll out. It might change internal processes and it usually affects more people. It might even pull in different departments to be able to sign it off. So B2B is more of a relationship-driven approach instead of a simple transaction. And that's why a lot of the marketing advice you see online, which is actually tailored for B2C, doesn't work when you apply it to B2B. Because B2B and B2C are different and the way that you market needs to change to match that. So knowing that B2B is different is one thing, but here's the part no one explains that actually makes B2B work. So there is one core principle of B2B marketing you have to understand. Once you get this, everything else starts to make sense. The easiest way to explain this is with dating. Let's say I want to get a girlfriend. By the way, Lindsay, I'm very happy in our relationship. That is not the case.
Oh dear, we are in trouble.
So let's say I wanted to get a girlfriend. I walk into a bar, which is theoretically a good place to meet people, and I see someone who could be a potential partner. Now I could just walk straight up to her and say, hey, do you want to be my girlfriend? Or do you want to marry me? Or do you want to come to bed with me? But the chance of her saying yes is pretty much zero. In fact, probably she'd throw water in my face. The reason isn't that she'd never be interested, it's that she simply doesn't know me yet. So the approach and the context just don't line up. So what a better approach would be is instead we're going to follow something called the 7-hour rule. So instead of jumping straight in, I would go over, open up a light conversation, ask what she likes, maybe make a few funnies, maybe very funny. We talk before there's any ask. Now the 7-hour rule says you need about 7 hours of real connection to build enough trust for the next step, like asking her on a date or back to your place. Now, I can't stand there for 7 hours straight. That's not realistic. But in B2B, that's exactly what we're trying to create. We're building trust over time. If you look at B2C, it's more transactional. The trust needed is far lower. But in B2B, you need way more trust because it's like a relationship. So you need that 7 hours. Luckily, there's also something called multiple hits. Think about this. You spend 8 hours at work doing the same task all day, and the day just blurs by. But if you spend those same 8 hours traveling on holiday, so you travel to the airport, you go through security, you get on a plane, you check into your hotel, you grab a walk, you find a restaurant, and the same amount of time feels longer because more happens, and that's what multiple hits do. So we need to get those 7 hours of trust, but we speed it up by changing the context. Different moments, different touch points, all stacked together, and that is how we build trust faster. So we need to build trust, and we need to do that with the 7-hour rule, and we use multiple hits to warp the perception of time to get there quicker. Now, there's also a secret second rule that most people don't really understand. Now, I've run loads of ad campaigns for people over the years using frameworks that have been tested and proven. So you would think that if I'm using the same framework every single time, the results should be the same every time. That makes sense. But a few years ago, I noticed something. Sometimes things work really well straight away. Other times we'd be banging our head up against the wall for 6 months and everything would feel slow and it just wouldn't work. Now I figured out what that thing was, and it's probably the most important factor in B2B marketing. The difference between campaigns that worked right away and campaigns that didn't was very simple. Whether the offer and the audience actually matched. This is what people mean when they say product market fit. If you have a company with a service people really want, and you know exactly who wants to buy it, and those people are desperate to buy it, it's all very easy. Any campaign or approach you run is going to work. But if you have a product you think people want, but they don't actually want, or your ICP isn't really dialed in, maybe on paper those people could use it, but it's not really right, then you are going to run into problems. Just know that product market fit trumps everything else I say. So knowing that your offer fits is half of it, here's what most people still mess up once they have that part right. Now, this is the basic strategy the painfully dumb and the utterly enlightened have grasped, and the only thing you need to follow if you want B2B marketing to actually work. It is ridiculously simple, but most people overcomplicate it. And this is the best analogy I can come up with to help you grasp the principle. So years ago, I wanted to put on a little bit more muscle and decided to start going to the gym. So I just went. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just turned up a couple times a week with no real plan. And after 6 months, nothing much had changed. I didn't feel better, I didn't look better, so I thought, okay, this isn't working. Next, I looked up how to do the gym properly. I found a plan and I started to get an idea of what I should be doing. So I went to the gym and I started seeing some improvement, but not much. It was a little bit all over the place, and I'll be honest, I wasn't really that consistent. Then I asked myself, how can I make this better? Maybe I just need to stick with it more. So I got more consistent and I started seeing some results, but then I plateaued really fast and I stayed stuck for literally years. I thought I was doing everything right. So what I did is I hired a personal trainer. He had a quick look at what I was doing, tweaked my routine a bit, added 1 extra session a week, cleaned up how I did the exercises. Nothing massive, but he also kept me accountable so I'd actually stick to my diet instead of pretending it was fine when it really wasn't. And within 2 months, huge progress, best shape I have ever been in. So the point is actually really simple. You need a plan or a structure, a strategy to follow, and that plan has to be solid. But most importantly, you need volume and consistency. If you've got the best workout plan, but only go to the gym twice a week or once a week, it doesn't matter how good the plan is. You're not committed enough, so you will not see the results. And the same goes the other way around. If you show up all the time, but you don't have a real plan, nothing happens. You need both. You need a good plan and you need enough volume running through that plan. That is it. Most people fail because they're missing one of those 2 things. Now, once you've got the plan and the commitment, here's the part no one tells you. There are actually only 4 ways you can get clients. So the good news is, strategy, there are really only 4 ways to do B2B marketing, and this comes straight from Alex Hormozi's lead book. The 4 methods of client acquisition are 1-to-1 people you know, 1-to-many people you know, 1-to-1 people you don't know, and 1-to-many people you don't know. Basically, that breaks down into network and referrals, cold outreach, content marketing, or ads. Those are the only 4 ways you can get clients. And the easiest of all of these is 1-to-1 with people you know. That's your existing network and referrals. Now, most people get stuck there because everything else feels hard. So I'm going to walk you through each strategy and what you need to do for each one. By the way, if you're enjoying this, we would really appreciate you subscribing. For every subscribe, my editor gets to eat for 1 day. So by not leaving a subscribe, you're actually being a bad human being. Oh, and before I tell you more about the 4 methods of client acquisition, I realized I haven't introduced myself yet. I am John, the founder of MinMax Media, and it's my mission to create the most simple, efficient, and effective client acquisition system possible, and to help you by setting that system up for you or teaching you how to set up yourself. If you want to see the system in full, there is a link below. And if you want to apply to work with us, again, there is a link below. So when I first started my business, the first thing I did was go to everyone I knew and ask if they needed any help. And from that, I got some work, which was great. And honestly, that's what I relied on for the first 6 years. I worked with those people, I met some others, I built my network and kept working. And it grew, it was great, it was genuinely very, very easy. But what happened was, I wasn't in control of any of it. I was completely at the mercy of some luck and chance. Some months were great, some months I had literally nothing. I had absolutely no control. And this is where most people get stuck. But it's still the first place you want to start because it's the easiest. One-to-one with people you know. The easiest way to do this is with something called a reactivator. Make a list of everyone you know, such as old leads or people in your network. Then reach out to each one and ask if they know anyone who would benefit from what it is you do. Ideally, you want to offer them something for free instead of jumping straight into selling, because that never feels good. So come up with a free version of your service, maybe a free trial, a free training, or the first month for free, and offer that. That is how you get business in the door. It is the best place to start if you haven't done this yet. In fact, even if you're already established, this is the best place to start if you need to bring in some work. But you cannot stay here forever, otherwise you're always stuck in that feast or famine with no control. And that network and all those past leads, you can only really tap them a few times. Now, the reason this works so well is simple. You already have trust. They already know you. They already crossed that trust line I showed you on the graph earlier. And that is why everyone gets stuck here. It works because the trust is built in. But in other places, people skip that step and treat it like the trust is there when it isn't. So the next step is one-to-one with people you don't know. So back in 2020, I started pivoting my business because I was sick of relying on my network and referrals. So what we did was simple. Me and my assistant spent 4 hours a day, every single day. I would record Loom videos of myself reviewing their website or looking at their marketing campaigns and giving free advice. I would record those videos. She'd then send them out to people we found who might need our service, and then she'd follow up. This is all we did for about a year, and it worked. We got clients we still have today. It brought in business without spending any money on ads. The only problem is it's really time heavy, but it is cheap to execute. So if you don't have much money, but you do have time, this is the best place to start. If you're just starting, do this. If you're not, I'll get to that in a minute, but this is how it works. All we're doing here is the same thing as before. We're just reaching out to people we don't know. Now, the easiest way for B2B is to search on LinkedIn Sales Navigator for people in your target audience. I have another video that shows you exactly how to do those searches. And once you've found those people, you want to use a tool called Everboot to pull their emails and their details from LinkedIn. Then you can use a tool called Instantly to send emails to those people in a sequence, following the same principle as before. We are not reaching out to pitch hard. We're starting soft, offering something for free, offering value first, no pushy stuff. Build trust before you ask for anything big. Now, a few outreach rules to stick to. Keep your emails short and straight to the point. Make them look like normal emails, not weird marketing templates. They should feel like they're coming personally from you. And never send more than 3 emails in a sequence. After 3, your response rates fall off a cliff, so only send 3 to each person. That lets you push more volume and see better results. Now, after we got cold outreach working, we started thinking, how do we flip this? Instead of chasing people, how do we get them coming to us? So what we started doing is making YouTube content, which by the way, you are watching right now. So we came up with videos that solved the exact problems our target audience was dealing with. Then we'd film them, we'd put them on the channel, and inside each video, we'd offer something free, usually something like a consultation call. And people would book the call, we'd help them out, and if it made sense, we'd pitch them our full service. And that started working really well. People were coming into our calendar without us having to chase them, and because they'd already watched some content, they were warm, they already trusted us. This is the shift you want. You want it where leads start coming to you. The only catch is, it is slow. Here's a view of our YouTube channel over 5 years. It's great now, we get 5 or 6 leads per day from it, but early on, it was maybe 5 or 6 per week, sometimes less. So just know this works, but is a long-term strategy. If you need results right now, do direct outreach. But if you want a system that compounds over time, this is worth building. And a few extra tips here. Make sure you know your ICP inside out and only make content around the problems you solve. Don't go broad and don't chase views. When we stuck to our lane, like doing videos on LinkedIn ad strategy, setup, campaign structure, those brought in the best leads. When we went off and did broader topics, we tended to get people who weren't as qualified. So stay focused, make content that speaks directly to the people you help and the exact problem that you solve. Now, the last strategy you can use, and probably the most effective if you get it working, is one-to-many with people you don't know. This is basically Advertising. Now what happened with us is once we had our content marketing and our outreach dialed in, we switched over to ads. And all we did is we took what was already working because we knew exactly who we needed to reach, because we tested all that, and we knew exactly what the offer was. All we did was run ads using the same thing that had worked before, and it worked pretty much straight away. In fact, early on we ran an ad campaign that gave us a 10 times return on ad spend. Only reason we had to turn it off was because we literally couldn't handle the volume of work coming in. I'll be honest, this is still an issue for us. Sometimes the ads are so effective they overload us operationally, so we have to pause them. So basically you shift from having client acquisition problems to having operational problems. How do you run ads like this? Well, the basic structure is really simple. You have a campaign group and then 3 campaigns under that group. You target people based on job title, job seniority mapped with function, and then some kind of a wild card. That is assuming you're using LinkedIn. And honestly, if you're B2B, LinkedIn is the place to be. You could try X or Meta, but that is a separate conversation. Then you just take the offer that's already working and you pitch it to the same people in the same way you did with your other methods, just scaled up. One thing to remember, lots of people skip the other stuff and jump straight to ads, hoping it'll fix all of their problems. If that is you, it will not work. Ads are a multiplier. They just bring you more of what you're already getting. So if you're not getting anything from other channels, you'll keep getting nothing. It'll just cost you more money. We only ever suggest running ads if you're already bringing in clients through something other than network and referrals. That is the biggest mistake we see. People jump straight into ads without figuring out their real ICP or their offer because they've only ever leaned on network and referrals where the trust is already baked in. Now, understanding all this, you are in a stronger spot than most. Now, these are the principles, but if you want to know how to practically put all of this into practice, I've put together a video that covers our signature system, which is called the Control Growth Framework. It will walk you through how you clarify your marketing messaging, how you build a sales call engine, and how you can convert leads on autopilot. So if you want to see exactly how to build the full system we use and make your client acquisition consistent, predictable, and reliable, watch this next. It will show you the full framework step by step, so you're not working harder, you're working on what actually works.